I'm just a poor Southern white man.
Stop. Stop.
M.
Oh.
M.
Mom!
Are you a lady like me? Introspective, beautiful. Oh, are you intellectual like me? Beguiled by a bargain? You like wild times? Oh, like me? Are you serving the community like me? Well, if you are, then you must be very Delta. Today's guest is a celebrity impersonator. She's not Dolly Parton, but sometimes she is. It's Vancie Vega. Hi.
Hello, my dear friend.
I'm so
I'm
happy
just
you're
grinning. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to see you.
You're quite literally one of my favorite people in the world.
You're one of my favorite people. You know, we've been friends for a very, very long time, but even before we knew one another through performing, I had always known you on the beginnings of social media, that being like YouTube, Facebook, seeing a legend from Texas.
When Twitter started.
Yes.
I remember all that.
And so I was like, who is this glamorous person? Because I've always been fascinated with the glamorous side of female impersonation, celebrity impersonation, drag. You know, it's all hand in hand.
Well, I started in glamour drag because I started in pageantry back in 1986 was the first time I was put in drag by a friend, and I went and walked his dog, and the neighbor tried to pick me up, and I was like 15. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I always would cry because I knew I was a girl. I knew I was different. You know, as a 5-year-old person, I would cry when my prayers weren't answered from the night before. So I always knew. But then when I found that outlet and people would pay attention to me because I was glamorized to fulfill that need that I had, it was on. It was just on. And when I saw my first trans woman, shortly thereafter, I was like, I can do that?
Right.
When I first came to California, I was glamorized, you know. I was always half naked because it's common in the South for trans women to be half naked. But when you travel, you find that there's so many different aspects of performing. Like now I consider myself a character actor because just moving to California has completely changed who I am as an artist.
When you left Texas and came to California, what was that change like as far as performing?
Well, I found that it was so professional. It was so produced. It was like so many of these performers and artists here, you could literally take them and put them right onto a television show. It's just from head to toe is just done. So it really challenged me to think outside the box and think outside of taking something off for shock effect, but actually developing and working on something that's more meaningful and long lasting.
Wow.
That's what I got from my move to California.
Yeah.
You know?
And of course, I introed this by saying our guest is not Dolly.
Yeah,
but
not Dolly.
Sometimes is.
Hashtag not Dolly.
Yeah, hashtag not Dolly. Tell us about your life as Dolly Parton.
Well, first, I always give props to Mother, and I always say, where's my camera? Here.
Yeah.
Thank you for my career, Mother. You know how much I love you. And she always goes, thank you for my career in return. But it was actually an accident. I was doing Madonna in Boylesque, and I was the first Madonna in Las Vegas in 1990, working Vet Lacage. But then I jumped ship and went to Boylesque with Kenny Kerr. And I was doing Madonna. We were contracted by the Sayre Hotel to have specific characters in the show. And if, say, Dolly was out, then we got fined every time she was out.
Oh, wow.
So she had to go home for a family emergency. So I had to fill the spot begrudgingly. So I just copied her makeup, wore her costumes, and impersonated the impersonator.
Right.
Because I didn't know anything about Dolly. And when I walked out, the audience just lost their minds. And I was like, okay. And that's how she was born. And now I've become so blessed by knowing her family, have really true relationships with nieces and cousins and they're my friends. Like, we're friends because of Dolly, but I'm not friends with them to get to Dolly. They're actually my friends, and I really treasure their friendships. And I don't see her or talk to her, but I know that she enjoys my tribute. Because if she didn't, I would know it. I would feel it. So I'm humbled by it. I really am humbled by it. Like, I just grin in ear to ear. I feel like a little kid most of the time.
Sure.
And I can feel like death warmed over. Like I've just eaten a whole pile of shit. Like when I was doing drugs and doing Dolly, and this is really horrible to say, but it was the honest truth. I could be up for a couple of days on cocaine and just feel like I'm dying. But as soon as I walk on stage as Dolly, I would be filled with that Dolly essence, that Christ consciousness. It's wild how it just kind of takes over like that.
Yeah, she does that. I mean, there's just the honesty, like really the honesty. Are there certain Dolly songs that you love? Maybe you don't perform, but you love.
"Slow Healing Heart" is my favorite Dolly song, and it's really slow. And I'm not a live singer, so I tend to stay away from most of the mournful woe songs, but they're my favorite.
Yeah.
Do
you have a favorite Dolly look?
The look I'm doing now, the makeup that I'm doing now, which is, I used to do the arch up like this, up to the brow, which is how she used to do it. But now, as she's gotten older, she's got that kind of ridge, where your eye socket is. And so her makeup is more like, I call it the trans flag because it's blue and pink.
Yeah.
With a heavy crease. And it's my favorite. I think it's beautiful. It's easy. It's quick.
If you were going to be in a show, a celebrity impersonation show where you had to do back-to-back celebrities, is there an easier, like for Madonna, Dolly, is it easier to go from one to the other, like Dolly to Madonna or vice versa?
Yes, I go from Madonna to Dolly to Cher.
Okay.
Because you add as you go.
It's interesting that you were saying that first time that you did Dolly, you were doing the other person's sort of
I was
makeup.
impersonating. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people do that. They'll pull up a character study and they'll say, this is my favorite Dolly Parton. I'm just going to do that instead of looking at them. And I remember Hunter, Chad's drag mother, always saying, like, when I first started doing Dreamgirls, he would say, oh, you and Chad should do the little trade out, the Cher and then the big Cher surprise. It'll
like
be
I
fun.
used to do with Madonna.
Yeah. And I thought, oh gosh, that'll be fun. And so I would just threw together like whatever outfit I could find. And he said, this is great. You should work on it. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, you need to do some makeup and you need to do this. And I said, why? It doesn't matter. They know it's a joke. And he said, no, they know it's funny, but you should still tribute the artist and you should study that. He's like, so that way it just looks like somebody got a straw and blew up Cher.
Yeah.
Or blew up Dolly.
That makes so much sense, though.
He said, don't make it messy. Make it funny, but don't make it
do
messy.
It seriously.
But do it seriously so people go, wow, you really do have a costume.
Yeah.
Really do. And I remember him saying, like, if this person is, of an average size, a straight size, and they're wearing a Dolly wig, you need to have 3 Dolly wigs. Make yours proportionate. Make it big over the top. And so I think about that with you because you do so many celebrities.
Yeah, I do.
And I was just saying recently, I died because I was online and there you pop up, but I thought I was looking at Taylor Dane. And it was
my
you.
New one.
Taylor Dane is like, I mean, my favorite. I love Taylor Dane.
And it's so not, I wouldn't say random because I'll still listen to her music all the time.
Sure.
And I had an impersonation show coming up and I was tired of doing Dolly and Cher and Madonna. And I was like, who do I want to do? And it just kind of came in and I took a picture of her and I drew it on and they loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she's responded and liked a couple of things. And, my friend Amy Taylor was having an auction of her stage costumes and shoes and stuff. And there's a jacket that I love. My girlfriend, as a surprise, bought me the Taylor Dane jacket.
Wow.
And I have it hanging in my closet right now.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
That's so cool.
Of course, I tried it on. It was like way out to here. It wouldn't close, but still, I was like, that's pretty neat.
Do you wear different perfumes based on the character that you're impersonating?
I don't. I wear Scent from Above from Dolly for everything. Except for today, I'm wearing Tom Ford Oud Wood. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oud Wood?
Oud
Yeah.
Wood.
What about like lipstick colors? Like, is there like a Dolly red, but then there's a Madonna red?
Yeah, I think the Dolly red that I wear is Pomegranate by Beauty Some. It's a little darker because then I can use it and lighten it up for different looks.
Okay. Do you have a favorite Dolly Parton hairstyle? I just love Dolly so much. I really do.
I do. I like kind of where it all comes forward. That fringy. Anything that's fringy with like a little pieces on top, just simple. Real simple. Yeah.
There was something like, I don't know, maybe it was sort of late 80s, early 90s, like straight talk. And even in straight talk,
that's the hair I'm talking about.
There was like about 3 or 4 variations of the style.
There sure was.
Some were so aggressively pieced out.
Huge. And
You're like,
they're huge.
And they like come out.
Yeah.
And they like frame
She looks
in.
like a brat doll when she's in them.
I
And now her hair is very, very like this, very simple.
Yeah. But still so glamorous.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Dollywood?
Several times.
I've never been. I always want to go.
Several times. My dear friend Heidi Parton has Heidi Parton's kin and friends there who I want to give a shout out to Heidi Parton. She just had her album drop, Reflections. It's on all streaming platforms. It's a great album. So please go stream that for Heidi.
I love that. Let's take a break.
Between my wild schedule and jam-packed summer plans, sometimes I barely have time to blink, let alone cook. That's why Factor is my hero. Delicious, chef-prepped, dietitian-approved meals that show up right at my door like magic. And now, with over 65 weekly options built for how I live and what I love to eat, I can squeeze in a real meal no matter where the day drags me. Lately, I've been on a full-on global flavor joyride, from bold Asian-inspired dishes with a wink from China, Thailand, and beyond, to Mediterranean masterpieces that are practically a passport stamp on a plate. They're packed with protein, loaded with those good fats, and they leave me feeling full, happy, and ready to conquer. And the flexibility? Honey, it's a chef's kiss. I pick exactly how many meals I want each week, and of course, I'm going all out. 14 Factor meals a week, lunch, dinner, living my best life one bite at a time. Eating healthier has been so easy and delicious this summer. I use Factor, and you should too. Eat smart at factormeals.com/verydelta50 off and use code verydelta50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code verydelta50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off plus free shipping. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor.
We are back with Vancie Vega. Now, I know in this world there's bigger fish to fry all day long. We both know that. But we fry the small fish here because that's all I can really fix is little shit. And I'm not really fixing it. I'm just bitching about it because nobody else is going to listen.
I understand.
Are there any small fish happening right now? Little things that just maybe getting on your nerves, subjects. It could be a hot sauce that you can't find anymore. It could also be a behavior of people.
Well, since it came up organically, I have a really hard time with being canceled for having my own opinion.
Okay.
Like I got canceled in San Diego, and I honestly don't really know why. I felt that I was never really given a good chance there because, I'm mouthy, I'm Southern, I have a lot of opinions, but I was really hurt by San Diego. I was literally told verbatim, there are no resources here for you. You're a danger to my community or our community, which confused me because I'm a part of that community. And I have a feeling it's because I didn't assimilate and have the same drastic opinions. And I really honestly don't know why. But I have a problem with people canceling the cancel culture why? I'm having a hard time articulating this, but it really bothers me that people just can flip a switch and then not be bothered by a person, place, or thing with no explanation.
Right.
or not giving that person grace or speaking to them or letting you know why. What's up? What's up? This is what's bothering about you. You know, Vicky Vox came to me when I first moved here, and this is before I was diagnosed as ADHD and a slightly bipolar. That's no surprise to me. I've been cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs my whole life. It's part of my shtick, my charm. But she was honest with me. She told me, girl, you're fucking up.
Mm.
You need to get it together. She was the only one. And it was shortly after that I went into therapy and got diagnosed. And I worked with her maybe a year after that. And I told her, I was like, I want you to know that I apologize for making you uncomfortable, but I've addressed it. She gave me a big hug and we were good.
Right.
That's how I am. I would like to see that more in our community.
Right.
Really, that's my not so small fish to fry.
Yeah, it's a big fish. I mean, you know, you talk about this idea of the cancel culture, and it's difficult when it's people that mean something to you.
Yeah.
And you're unclear as to what's transpired, why it's transpired.
I was devastated.
But you're not a stranger. And you're not afraid of any kind of controversy.
No.
And what I love about you is, while you may say, oh, I have regret for this, or I want to account for this, you're not hiding from anything.
No.
You know, when it comes to, you know, we talk about the newer, younger girls that we might be working with. A lot of people do OnlyFans now. And other people go, oh, I don't know why people do that. That's terrible. I would never do something like that. But so many people are out here consuming it.
Yeah.
They have no problem consuming it, but then they shame people who create something
the same
like
people
that.
who were consuming me are the same ones that are trying to legislate against me.
Right, exactly.
All of my friends were heterosexual married men. All of mine. And every trans woman will tell you this that's in that sex business, that they're all heterosexual men that are almost all married with kids.
Right.
I came into the sex industry because of being broken and from being sexually abused as a child. So, and then you find that those things that become subconscious can often fuel poor choices in your life when those poor choices actually provide a fulfillment in something that's lacking in you at that moment. You know, and then some just never make it out because it's fast, easy money, and maybe there's sex addicts or love addicts, which is common in prostitution and porn. There's a lot of love addiction, which means you're trying to fulfill and get that you have always desired, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
this is like an Aunt Vancie Better Living with Aunt Vancie podcast. This is stuff that we would talk about.
This is stuff that people should not be afraid to talk about.
Oh, I'm never afraid to talk about it. Yeah.
Right.
For a long time, I felt it damaged my career, and I just had to realize, you know, be comfortable in my skin. I love my age. I love my experiences. Would I do it again? No. I would absolutely make different choices. But those choices that I made have brought forth an opportunity for me to be Aunt Vancie and to be a public figure and to share Christ consciousness.
A lot of people say, well, I just see things as they are, but I think we see things as we are, right?
Yeah,
Because we all
I
bring to the
do.
table our experiences.
You know, it's like Dolly says, they don't come to see me, they come to see themselves in my show.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same, you
Right.
know, people they want to be seen in some form or fashion. And now in our society, we've been so conditioned to have the me, look at me, choose me, that a lot of really good advice and mentorship get overshadowed by really loud people who don't really have anything to say.
Right. Right. That makes
I
a lot
think
of
I
sense.
articulated that pretty kindly.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, I wonder because, as I said, I admired you in my beginning stages of drag. You know, I would see people, I would see yourself, I would see Erica Andrews, I would see, sure, take your time.
That's that addiction.
Stop.
Oh, it runs all the time. I
Well,
didn't mean to interrupt you, but it runs
no.
all the time. I've had it repaired with cartilage and put back together.
Uh-huh.
But if I constantly have tissue, or it just like a faucet down. It's
Do you ever
just-
roll the tissue up and just stick it in your nose and leave it there?
You know, I don't. It's just, it's not a bad idea though, especially like during a show. But I don't know if I want to be a mouth breather.
Maybe
trying
like
to
a little
get-
tampon and then watch it swell up. That could work, couldn't it? It could work.
I could roll my own. But
Yeah.
it could work. I worked with a entertainer, Steph McCall, in Las Vegas that did Dionne Warwick, and he would put tissue in his nose and paint it black with his liner and to widen his nose like hers was. It was fascinating.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were saying about Erica.
Saying, looking at the entertainers that I saw, saying this is glamour, this is how it's done, this is what I would like to play in, not knowing that this could be a profession. And in my mind, I feel like it has to be your passion before it can be your profession. You have to love something so much, whether you're a painter or you're a hairdresser, whatever it is, you have a vision and you want to be part of that. As someone, and I know a lot of people, I guess, I'll be 50 next year. So we get to that point where we're the elder femmes, elder queens, elder queers, but are still working in an industry where there's much younger people. You're able to see these different phases and join these conversations. And there's such a huge conversation happening right now about trans rights and trans existence, right?
Yes.
When you come to the table and there's generational differences, there's different generational challenges. So some people maybe younger would say, well, this is how it's done. This is absolutely how it's done.
The new way.
And so, I've had other guests here that are also elder trans people who have said, I don't know how to they're not sure how to like traverse the conversation, because basically what they're trying to say is, I've lived a different experience.
Absolutely.
And we can't take away those experiences from people and say,
I think that's what's happening also with the younger generation. And that is gross over generalization. Let me preface that first. But I do believe that with the anger that is and the fear that is so readily available, and I think a younger generation has a tendency to negate the experiences of elder trans people because it was so different for us. Just leaving the house was a revolution.
Right.
Back in the day, and especially if you weren't passable and if you perhaps were a whiter or taller girl that didn't have the means or the mentorship, then it was freaking brutal. And it's still brutal, but back in the day, it was like drag you behind a car brutal.
Right.
So I feel sometimes that the passion and the strength that our young have today is so admirable, but it also can be a little blinding and not taking into consideration the experiences of the legendary people who've come before us.
Right. That's 1,000% true. In any form of the queer community, you know what I mean?
But I have to say, I follow many of their examples and their leads because as an older trans woman, I'm never scared to go anywhere. I'm never scared to say anything. I just live my life. But watching them and their protests and their march and their demands for equality and liberation, it's awe-inspiring because I never experienced that growing up. That was nothing we ever experienced. The greatest thing in my generation was don't ask, don't tell.
Right.
That was a huge milestone. And that's like peanuts now. So it's our youth has really drug us into the present.
Yeah, that's 1,000% true. Yeah.
It's a very fine balance.
Yeah. I feel like you have been a very vocal person. You're an open book when it comes to everything in your life. Sometimes I joke with people and I use the phrase when they ask me like a sexual question or they ask me a question about money or whatever, I like to say, I've been many women in my life. I joke about that. But you have been many people in your life, from pageantry to Parton, and you're very vocal about
my
prostitution.
I was homeless. I chose homelessness in my 30s and the 2000s because I was addicted to cocaine. I won Miss Texas in 2000, only smoking marijuana, not drinking or doing drugs. Within 6 months, I was out of my mind. When I gave up Miss Texas, I was up for like 7 days.
Wow.
I had to put me in lockdown. They had to commit me. I was so out of my mind.
Wow.
And I flatlined so many times. That's a whole really another podcast. But I was kind of forced to live out loud because my fall from grace was internationally. It was very public, very, very public.
Well, what is the fall from grace? I mean, what is that? What is that feeling?
Oh God, it's seeing yourself fall from a 100-story building, but choosing the fall.
Mm.
Because at the time, the thrill and the ride was so exhilarating and it kept you from being on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling and dealing with hurt and all that. But it's a horrific event. I do not recommend it.
Who do you think would play you in the life story of Vancie Vega?
Detox.
Detox. I like that.
Mm,
I like that.
yeah.
I could absolutely see that.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah.
think that she's got all facets of my personality
Uh-huh.
that she could totally do it without really having to work at it very hard.
Who's going to play me in the life story of me?
Oh.
Don't say Abby Lee Miller.
No. Oh, how dare they? Who said that?
I did.
Oh,
The Mirror
no.
said that to me.
Oh, that's a good one. Melissa McCarthy,
I like that.
because she can be a serious actress, but she's she's quick-witted like you are, and she's funny like you are.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
And she's pretty like you are.
Oh, stay here forever.
Okay.
I want to go back to something that you hit on, and then I jumped subjects, and then I wanted to come back. Walking the dog in drag for the first time.
Uh-huh.
Why did you decide I'm going to get in drag and then I'm just going to go walk a dog?
Because I didn't want to get out of it.
Okay.
I felt so myself. I
Okay.
was like, oh my God, I look like a girl. I feel fantastic. And I think I had some like silk schmata thing that she had because she was a voluptuous woman. And I just I wanted to go do something, and the dog needed to be walked. And I volunteered. I just went and walked the dog, just like right down the steps. And then her neighbor just came by and was like, hey, how you doing?
And how old were you?
I was 15.
Oh, I'm leaving it there. I'm not going any
Yeah.
further.
Oh, no. He was just said hello, and I was nervous. I probably said something like, hi, or something stupid like that, talking in a helium voice because I
Right.
didn't realize,
Right.
Yeah, I remember it was yesterday. And I think maybe a week later, I did my first performance to Anne Murray's Snowbird.
Anne Marie Snowbird is very specific. Very specific.
My father dated a man. Oh my God, God forbid he would be a horrible homosexual. My father dated a woman who looked exactly like Anne Murray, and I loved her so very much. And so I was fascinated with Anne Murray because she looked so much like her. So
Did you know then, when you were going to walk a dog in drag, that you would eventually be just like a full-fledged glamour puss who rescues animals, trains animals?
I didn't. I just knew at that moment that that's something that I needed.
Yeah.
But I don't feel glamorous when I'm doing all that, though. I mean, I'm sweating, and I might have silver stubble coming out from the night before, or, and I'm scarred up from head to toe.
And well, what kind of
from all
animals
the
are you
animals.
working with?
My partner and I have 7 right now, all rescues. We have 5 chickens and a rooster. And we're not in escrow, but we're about to sign on a house in the desert and with a lot of property. And we're going to get like probably donkeys and maybe
Wow.
an emu to protect the chickens. And
Uh-huh.
I'm Ellie Mae Clampett. I'm literally.
I love
That was
that.
my father growing up. We have, I think, 12 or 13 rescue horses in East Texas. And
Wow.
I think we have 20 to 30 cats in
Uh-huh.
East Texas. So that's just that's my shtick. Kids and special needs children and animals.
When I was a kid, I was in the 4-H club, and then we used to get all of our cats and dogs from like an animal rescue. And I remember we went one time, and they were like, "We have a donkey here,"
Yeah.
and my stepdad was like, let's get the donkey.
For sure.
So we had a donkey in our
I
home
would
in
love
Escondido.
It. I would love. Is that where
Right?
you grew up, Escondido?
For a part of the time when I was a kid. Yeah, we lived in
I love
Escondido.
Escondido.
I do too.
Yeah.
Let's take a break. Do you have something on your mind? Perhaps a burning question. Or maybe you just need me to go off about something. Well, now's your chance. Email me at readmedelta@gmail.com and you just might hear your question on an upcoming episode of Very Delta. Don't be shy, baby. Send me an email. We are back with Vancie Vega.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just having such a good time with you here.
I know. It's like nobody's even here. We're
Right.
just having a good little conversation.
Well, listen, I'm a bit of a pig, and I see something down there, and
I do have something for you, and I hope you like this vintage. I know that you
Okay.
love things like this. It is for the woman who wants to take charge of her life.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
That's
I
the
love
tagline. Do
packaging.
you remember that tagline?
I don't. I feel like I should.
Yes. I really feel like you're going to enjoy this.
Look at the packaging. It's so pretty.
You'll have to take the packaging out.
Oh, I
probably,
think
yeah.
I do know. I think I
Do
do.
you?
Know. Oh, I think I do know. How could I not know this?
We were racking our brain trying to think of what to get you that you would love. Yes?
This is everything.
Is that what? Do you love it?
If you don't know about Gina Tay, this is the body splash, I would imagine.
The after splash.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is how it comes. This is how it is. This is what a lady wore.
Yes.
Yeah.
For a lady who wants to take charge of her life.
That's the tagline.
And do you remember she was on a racehorse?
Yes. Yeah. And it has a specific scent.
It does. It does.
Oh my God. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's so thoughtful.
I can bring home the bacon,
Fried
fried
up
up in a pan. Oh, those are
my
so great
God.
commercials. It was the 80s.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's still around.
Thank you. I want to talk about Real Hard.
My movie.
Yes.
Yes, my latest movie. Well, my first movie was with Bob Newhart and Linda Gray way back in the day. I was a geisha, and I just walked by him and Bubbles, the chimp, and I said, "Excuse me," as a geisha. That was hilarious. So this one is a film written and directed by John Mansonetti from Mansonetti Pictures. I'm really, really in love with this picture. And my character, Lucille Lincoln, who is a movie mogul that is a predator, a sexual predator.
Okay.
But it is an absolutely hysterical film in the vein of Naked Gun, Pet Detective, Airplane.
Mhm.
So it's very shticky, very fun. And I had the most amazing time being ruthless and outlandish and just letting go and diving into such a
I love
fun
that.
character. Yeah.
Real Hard.
Yes.
And you're on tour.
I am on tour. I'm on the Dolly and Friends 2025 tour. It started in here in Southern California in June, and I'm going to be going up to Tennessee and Georgia, North Carolina, all that area, and then ending up in Puerto Vallarta January through May of next year.
Wow.
Really, really.
That's a fat stacked tour.
I am lucky. I'm
Yeah.
so lucky and grateful. It's a wonderful feeling being booked a year in advance.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
truly.
Well, this is the part of the show that we call Read Me Delta. People
Okay.
send in their letters. They have questions, queries.
I love it.
And if you do want to send in a letter, you can send it to readmedelta@gmail.com. Read Me Delta! Okay. Greetings, dearests. I'm a 75-year-old woman. I was born an orphan, and God blessed me abundantly with riches, but no children, nor husband, because he died when I got sick, which makes me an unhappy woman. Now I'm affected with cancer of the lung and breast and a partial stroke, which has affected my speech. I can no longer talk well, and half of my body is paralyzed. I sent this email to you with the help of my private nurse. I decided to make my last donation of 10,500,000 United Kingdom pounds to you as my investment manager. I want you to build an orphanage home with my name, Mrs. Martha Dubolt, in your country. If you're willing and able to do this task for the sake of humanity, then send me below the following information: your name, your phone number, your country of origin and residence. Thank you so much for your support. Martha Dubolt.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Are you
this
sure she's not from the Middle East?
she could
Is she a
be.
prince?
She has 10,500,000 United Kingdom pounds.
United Kingdom pounds.
Have you ever received a letter from?
That's interesting.
I
Martha,
got
was it?
Martha Dubolt.
Martha Dubolt.
Have you ever received anything funny like that?
Only from a Nigerian prince.
Uh-huh.
But he loves me.
He loves you.
And I pay for the cat bills.
Yeah.
It's so funny because that reminds me of romance scams, and I know people who have been duped from scams like that. Scams these days, it'll say Comcast on the phone.
It will say their phone number.
On your bank statement, it'll say Comcast. But it's not Comcast. I mean, they go above and beyond now. It's wild. I never respond to any email. I never respond to any text message. I just delete them. And if I suspect, then I go straight to my own accounts and like that. Because I work too hard for my serenity to give it to you. I mean, just saying.
I've had an email that came to me one time, and it basically said, like, I mean, you could tell just by the wording, like the misspellings and stuff.
Sure.
And it was like this manifesto, and they were like, we know what you do at blank, 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 blank address. And we want, if you send us $3,000, we're not going to tell the world what's happening and blah, 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 blah. You should be fearful of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not even my address.
That's
like,
hilarious.
well, we can leak everything that's happening at that location. I don't even know what that address is. And then the same email in the same kind of format, but from a different address came like weeks later. It's so strange. I've had that chain one that comes around that's like, hey, it's Michael Jackson. I'm still alive.
I haven't gotten that one yet.
I've received that.
I do
still
get text messages that say something about like a U.S. company. Maybe it's Progressive or it might Chase Bank or something. But the text message will be like +92 area code. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I even figured that out with Zillow. Zillow, people go on there and they say, oh, you can come look at the house, but you have to Venmo us a $50 application fee. And then you go and that house isn't even for sale.
It's funny you say that because when I was looking for an apartment in Hollywood one time, that was a very common practice on the listing sites.
Yeah.
That here's the address. I'm going to need a deposit, and then I'll send you the keys. And so I'm like, really? You want me to send you thousands of dollars, and then you'll meet me with the keys? Come on. But it's really common, and I guess people really do fall for it.
I think in the housing market, I think people are so desperate for something that works within what it is they can afford. When they see it, they're like, well, maybe there's, this just happens to be a deal.
Yeah.
And we're desperate to try.
It's kind of instinctual, when you see a link on your phone that just comes up, your first instinct isn't to think, don't click the link, and especially as you mentioned, if it seems legitimate.
Right.
Well,
another thing that's happened to me before is text messages that'll come in from an area code that looks similar to mine. And it'll say, hey, don't forget to send me that recipe. And then I'll respond back, which one? I don't know what you called it. And like they'll play along. So I think it's someone I know. And it's a thing that people do where they'll say, are you still going with Brian on Thursday?
I've gotten a couple of those.
And I've gone along with it thinking like, is this? And I'm like,
who's
Brian? Who is this? Like, because I know a Brian, but maybe you're spelling it wrong. And then sometimes, if you don't have a phone number.
What is their end game?
I think to probably try to get you to at some point
send them money or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Or give you some sort of vital information. Dear Delta and most distinguished guest, bonjour from Quebec. My husband and I recently married and are looking to buy a new home for ourselves. Much like in the U.S., Quebec and Canada are experiencing a bit of a housing crisis. Rents and home costs are unaffordable and only getting worse. You can imagine our excitement when we saw a cozy home for only $139,000 Canadian dollars, roughly $102,000 US dollars in a gorgeous, more rural part of Quebec. When we saw the price, we of course knew there had to be a catch. This is so weird that we were just kind of talking about this. Upon reading the listing, we found that it wasn't a home in disrepair, but rather a home on the property of a clothing-optional gay campground.
Oh.
Okay. The price is almost too good to pass up, but the environment isn't exactly welcoming for visits from family or non-male friends. At the same time, there's a party every summer weekend just minutes from our doorstep. Is this hidden gem a too good to be true? Would you like to make the move, Delta? Is it living on a gay compound very Delta? Keep going off, very best, Alex. Living on a clothing optional campground.
Well, the first thing that popped into my mind was, do you want penis or parents?
Right.
I mean, that's basically the question.
Right. I think in an ideal world, you can have both.
Well, it depends on where the house is on the compound. Because if it's closer to the front of the entrance, then maybe your guests are less likely to, but if I'm going to move on to a gay nude complex, no clothing optional, then are the people in my life, I would think that they're already going to be, kind of, at the very least, well adjusted to my being. So I don't know.
Well, Alex, I mean, I wonder, are you a nudist yourself? So if the two of you are
just enjoy art,
right? Are you an artist, or are you a nudist, or are you both? Because if you live this way comfortably, I would imagine your family would know that that's how you live.
Yeah, and I'm thinking Aunt Bertha from Idaho, or I'm thinking about my own personal family. They're not coming.
My hairdo itches.
Does it?
Yeah.
You're not going to pat it?
Right there. Hey, what about this? When you go out of town, if you have to stay in a hotel, do you prefer like a boutique hotel? Do you prefer like a chain hotel? Do you like a business person's hotel?
I prefer a hotel that you have to use the card to get up.
How are we friends?
Because I travel alone. And it just is another added thing of security. Yeah. I'll take a hand towel and slip it through the thing and tie it in a knot and call it a day. I always keep knives and bars and stuff like that with me too when I travel.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I dated for a couple of years an Army Ranger. He taught me how to do knife fights and how to protect myself and all that. So I carry at least a kitchen knife with me at all times.
I could carry this letter opener.
You could, and hold it like that, backwards.
And scratch my hair.
And scratch your head, yeah.
See, I can't. The reason I don't like the key, and I understand the safety, but you know how lazy I am, girl. And I'm not going downstairs to get my DoorDash. I'm not doing it. They've got to come up.
Yeah.
I won't do it. But see, you'll cook for yourself and you eat sensibly.
You want a Denny's next door.
No, because that would mean I'd have to leave the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Unless I'm going to eat with someone else. So like if you and I were going to go down
to the hotel either, though.
I don't.
Once my clothes are off and I'm in my house dress or whatever, that's a wrap.
Yeah, it is a wrap.
That's a wrap. Or if hair comes off, that's a wrap.
Hair comes off.
Yeah. Oh, which, by the way, I'd like to thank Christopher Mitchell of ChristopherDoesHair.com from Nashville for my amazing custom wig.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah, so beautiful.
I feel very pretty today. So, yeah.
You're always pretty.
Thank you.
This was so fun. Thank you for being here.
I have had an amazing time.
A blast.
An absolute blast. Thank you.
And by the way, you can't tell, but Vancie is frozen because our studio stays so cold.
I am freezing. I've been literally shaking the whole time, trying to control my breathing. So it's mostly excitement.
This is a testament to you as an actress.
Yes.
Because no one knows.
Actress. Right now, I'm playing a very calm and serene, straight, rich white woman.
Which you are.
And then I laugh, ha, 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 because I know that I'm not. I'm just a poor Southern white man.
Stop. Stop. Today on Very Delta, we learned that no matter what people say about you, you better get to living. We'll see you next week. And until then, keep things very Delta. Very Delta is produced by Moguls of Media, a.k.a. Mom. Hosted by Delta Work. Produced and edited by Doug Robertson. Technical direction by Danielle Mitchell. With original theme music by Will Pitts. Media and design support by Stone Cold. And set design by Eris Sevilla. Executive produced by Alaska, Willem, Big Dipper, Camille Stennis, and Joe Cilio. Recorded at Forever Dog Productions. Oh, give me dick. Give me 3 dicks in one hole.
Mom!
Watch Very Delta uncensored, ad-free, and a day early by subscribing to Mom Plus Gold. Sign up today at mompodcast.plus for premium content, including weekly episodes of More Very Delta.